Hello my dear friends, you're in the middle of a summary channel and today we will discuss the situation in the world on the 28th of March of 2026. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the Middle East. During the second part of the video we will discuss the situation in Ukraine. As for the Middle East, we see that things started developing very fast. Today we received official statements and reports that Houthis entered the game, entered the war on the Iranian side. And right after the Houthis announced about this, they attacked the territory of Israel with ballistic missiles. But later we received another video, but this time from the city of Marib. Here we can see in Marib, Saudi-backed Yemeni presidential consul controlled central Yemen. A massive pro-Saudi march was held in support of Riyadh against the Iranian attacks. So we see that most likely this is the way how the coalition is going to control Houthis. If they answered the game, most likely we will see another round of a civil war on the territory of the state, and the coalition will try to pin the Houthis down and not to allow them to use missiles to attack the territory of coalition. Another important update is coming from the territory of the United Arab Emirates. We have plenty of updates in this area. We have Zelensky arrived in the United Arab Emirates, but we will discuss this in a minute. The most important update is that according to pro-Iranian sources, during the previous 24 hours, the Iranians attacked the city of Dubai with missiles or with drones, and as a result of this attack, they struck and destroyed a Ukrainian anti-drone depot in Dubai, claiming it supported US forces. Furthermore, we received another report that the Iranians attacked a big group of US forces in this area. As of the 28th of March of 2026, we received plenty of updates that the Iranians managed to deal significant damage to this group. We will not talk about losses because this information is unconfirmed, and of course it's better to wait for additional details about the situation. But it seems that these two things, the attack in the area of Dubai and the thing that Houthis to join the war has the same root. They had the same problem base, because if you remember, Houthis several days ago stated that they will join the war against the coalition only in case if the coalition is going to start the ground operation on the territory of islands in the area of the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. But nothing of this happened, but they decided to join. Maybe they decided to join because the coalition during the previous days attacked lots of objects of infrastructure and plants on the territory of Iran. For example, according to different sources, Israel targeted Iran's two major steel hubs, Mabarech and Khuzestan, heating power systems, production lines, and storage to disrupt steel output and supply chains. Furthermore, we received the report that Iran says a uranium plant in Yazd was attacked. Yellow cake is a powdered uranium concentrate made from mined ore, an early step in the nuclear fuel cycle, later proceeded into reactor fuel or weapons materials. So this plant was also attacked according to different sources. We have a lot of updates on this matter during the previous 24 hours. Maybe this is the reason why the Iranians decided to start to use Houthis on their side and to declare official joint from this side of Yemen. Very difficult to say, but from the other side we see that maybe today or yesterday in the evening the coalition was planning to carry out a special operation from the territory of Dubai. Maybe they were planning to attack islands in the Persian Gulf, or they were planning to attack nuclear sites and to take under control the enriched uranium or something like this. But the Iranians managed to discover this operation and they attacked. Very difficult to say, but obviously during the previous 12 hours something happened, and we see that it seems that the parties from coalition are trying to hide this situation. But from the other side we see that the Iranians don't have enough of information to understand what exactly was happening. Furthermore, according to information we have, the Iranians attacked the state of Bahrain. Lots of explosions and lots of videos were published from this area. Furthermore, the Iranians attacked the state of Israel. Also, lots of explosions and lots of videos were received from this area. The coalition continued bombing and attacking different facilities and plants through the inside territory of Iran, and we see that the conflict stands on the same place. Another important update is coming from Saudi Arabia. According to information we have, during the previous 24 hours, the Iranians attacked the Prince Sultan Air Base, and the sources are saying that several very important aircrafts were destroyed. So here we can see fresh satellite pictures where we can see the differences between the days before and after attack. The sources are saying that at least 3 refueling aircraft were destroyed or damaged, and today we received the report that it seems that the Iranians, as a result of attack, managed to damage American AWACS E-3 Sentry aircraft and several refueling aircraft. And this is obviously the biggest losses, one very, very difficult losses for the coalition to lose an aircraft of this type. This upcoming night is going to be very important because it seems that something might happen between the 28th and the 29th of March of 2026. And the thing is, and the most important thing is, that we start receiving first updates about ground forces through the states of the Middle East that are ready or about to be ready for some special operations already on the territory of Iran. Now let's discuss the situation with Ukraine. During the previous 24 hours, according to information we have, the president of Ukraine visited several countries in the Middle East. He came to Qatar, where he signed an agreement on the interception of missiles and drones. Later, he came to United Arab Emirates, where he also discussed Iran-related things, threats, oil risks, and regional security. And according to information we have, Zelensky have signed an agreement with them as well. So the official Ukrainian position is that Zelensky is signing defensive agreements, but the sources familiar with the situation reported that Zelensky was signing an agreement where, according to this agreement, Zelensky must provide technologies and forces and sources to protect the states of the Middle East against the Iranian attacks with drones. In exchange, the Middle East states must provide Ukrainians with fuel, the most important asset of this stage of the conflict on the territory of Ukraine. Zelensky, for example, stated that there could be a 90% diesel shortage in Ukraine. That was stated by Zelensky. Everybody understand, and especially the Russians understand this as well, that if Ukraine doesn't have fuel, then most likely the Ukrainians will not be able to continue the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, and the Ukrainians would be forced to surrender. Furthermore, without fuel, the Ukrainians will not be able to carry out anything. We're talking about counterattacks, counteroffensive operations, and of course to launch drones deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation, which has already become a very big pain for the Russians. So that is why Zelensky came to the Middle East to sign agreements, and probably Zelensky managed to sign these agreements, but the question is not whether Zelensky signed these agreements or not. The question is how Zelensky is going to take his fuel, to get this fuel on the territory of Ukraine, because the Russians are over-concentrated on the Ukrainian logistic. The Russians are attacking energy substations with the purpose not to allow Ukrainians to use railway service for the redeployment of. If we increase the number of updates, for example, since the beginning of the 22nd of March of 2026, we will see just in the area of the city of Kryvyi Rog several updates, dozens of videos, dozens of pictures where we can see how the Russians were attacking the city of Kryvyi Rog, mainly how the Russians were attacking locomotives in this area. So this is the first picture. For example, this is the second picture where we can see another locomotive damaged and destroyed by the Russians on the territory of the city. Here we can see another video where we can see almost the same thing. We can see a railway station, and here we can see another locomotive or train that was attacked and damaged by Russians. So this is a very important thing, because the Ukrainians they need to bring fuel to the line of combat contact, and if you have problems with electricity, if you have power outages, if you have problems with logistics, the only way how to bring bring fuel to the line of combat contact or from the territories along the border with the European countries is to use these type of vehicles, locomotives, and the Russians destroyed significant number of them during the previous week. So Russians understand that the Ukrainians need fuel, and without fuel they will not be able to do this. And according to different updates, we see that most likely the Ukrainians are going to use the southwestern parts of Ukraine, so this territory, for these purposes. They need and they will most likely use the southwestern part of Odessa region, the Nikolaev region, and the territory of Dnipro region. These railway service lines in this area with the purpose to bring fuel to the line of combat contact from the territories of states like Moldova and Romania. So that is why during the previous days the Russians were over concentrated in this area, trying to hit as many as possible objects of the logistic infrastructure of Ukraine. And the previous night wasn't an exact exception in this area. Lots of videos were published from this territory. The Russians are basically doing just one thing with all these drones and missiles. They're hunting the logistic of the armed forces Ukraine. They're attacking trains of the armed forces Ukraine in this area. They're trying to destroy fuel of Ukraine that is entering the territory of Ukraine from the states of Romania and Moldova. Because the Ukrainians don't have lots of ways, a lot of solutions how to bring fuel on the territory of Ukraine. So, for example, they can't do this through Transnistria because this is an ally proxy Russian, let's say, state, unrecognized states. They can't do this from the territories of Hungary and Slovakia because they stopped supporting Ukraine with fuel. The only possible solution for them is Poland, through the territory of Poland, and of course the shortest solution is to bring fuel from the territory of Romania. So even that Zelensky managed to sign agreements with the Persian Gulf states on this matter, it still doesn't mean that he is able to bring this fuel in safe on the territory of Ukraine itself. Now the Russians will control the situation because the spring-summer offensive operation is gaining momentum. The major battle is entering its decisive phase, so that is why the Russians will try to do everything they can with the purpose to remove these important assets from the Ukrainian list. The Ukrainians understand this situation, and so that is why they're trying to do the same. During the previous 24 hours, we received lots of videos of how Ukrainians were launching missiles and drones deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation, and as during the previous nights, as 2 days ago, as a week ago, the Ukrainians were trying to hit the oil infrastructure and fuel infrastructure of the Russian Federation. In this video, we could see how the Ukrainians were launching their Flamingo drones. Later, we received this picture where we can see the approximate routes of attacks, and later we received additional updates of what exactly the Ukrainians were attacking. For example, the Ukrainians during the previous nights attacked the Yaroslavl oil refinery, the East territory. We have just several pictures that confirm that there was a smoke right after the Ukrainians attacked this territory, and we received lots of pictures from the settlement of Chapayevsk. For example, we received this picture, and here we can clearly see the Flamingo cruise missile that was heading towards the city of Chapayevsk, and later we received the report that there were several explosions in this area. Another important thing is, once again, attack in the area of Yaroslavl. As you can see, the city of Yaroslavl and the Yaroslavl oil refinery is located basically behind the city of Moscow. So the Ukrainians are so tasked to attack just oil refineries and oil infrastructure of the Russian Federation, so they decided not even to attack the city of Moscow, but to move further in the northern direction, which means that currently even the capital of the Russian Federation, the city of Moscow, is not important for Ukrainians. They are tasked just to attack these refineries. Another important thing, that if the Ukrainians decided not to attack the city of Moscow, but they saved a missile or several missiles to attack in the Yaroslavl direction, this also means that it seems that the Ukrainians are about to, the missiles and drones could be ended in coming days, at least long-range missiles, and the Ukrainians are trying to save them just for special purposes. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 24 hours, we received lots of updates, and we received lots of updates from the area of Zaporozhye. For example, the Russians, as you can see, according to number geolocations, intensified their activities in the Orekhov direction. During the previous day, we received lots of videos of how Russians were attacking the central part of the settlement with aviation. Also, we had this video where we see how Russians were attacking with FPV drones the edge positions or the temporary deployment points of the armed forces of Ukraine. Here we can see another video how Russians discovered the movements of the armed forces of Ukraine and they attacked this vehicle with another FPV drone. So lots of episodes. And furthermore, right before I started making this video, several pro-Ukrainian sources stated that during the previous 24-36 hours or something like this, the Russians launched a major offensive operation in the direction of the city of Orekhov, and the Russians were trying to answer the settlement of Orekhov from the southeast and from the east using mechanized convoys, lots of infantry and so on. And the Ukrainians were repelling this attack using the 65th Mechanized Brigades, and we received first videos where we could see how Ukrainians were repelling Russian attacks, attacking them with FPV drones. As of now, the videos that were published haven't been geolocated, but we believe that in coming days several episodes would be geolocated, and then we will understand what exactly the Russians were trying to achieve. The most important thing is that the Russians were trying to break through Ukraine's defense in the city of Orekhov and to answer the city itself. But I would like to remind you that according to the chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, there are already clashes on the territory of the city, but we still haven't received proof. As for the eastern Zaporozhye direction, there are very heavy clashes, but it seems that Ukrainians would be forced to change their plans if Zelensky doesn't resolve the issue with the fuel, because it's impossible to continue a counter-offensive operation further in the southern direction without being backed with 100% normal supply with everything that is needed for this counter-offensive operation. So that is why we haven't been receiving almost anything about the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation in this area for the last 2, 3 or something like these days. It seems that either the Ukrainians stopped or they're regrouping before the next wave of attack. So let's wait and see what is going to happen next, but the situation is very strange in the area of the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation. And yet, as you can see, there are lots of places marked as a gray zone without any proof that these territories indeed were recaptured by the Ukrainians, despite the fact that many sources, pro-Ukrainian and pro-Western sources, claim that these territories are under complete control of Ukraine. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Slaviansk direction. During the previous 24 hours, we received the most important update exactly from this area. This morning, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation stated that the Russians, as a result of clashes and decisive actions, managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Bruskovka. Based on the report that was published by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, we have adjusted the map. So this is a very important statement, and this is a very important situation. Of course, as of the end of the 28th of March, we still haven't received anything that can confirm this information. But the most important thing that if this is true, if this is exactly the case, if indeed the Russians as a result of clashes captured the settlement of Bruskovka, then we can start talking about the collapse of the entire Ukraine defenses in this area. The village of Bruskovka is not something like a breakthrough that will allow the Russians to continue advancing further in the direction of Slaviansk from the northeast. This is not the most important thing. The Russians will use the Bruskovka foothold for several purposes. One of them is to cut the logistics of Ukraine, because the Ukrainians were using the Slaviansk power station and the settlements like Starodubovka and Piskunovka with the purpose to redeploy their forces further in the northern direction to support their contingent on the territory of the city of Yemen. And from now on, the Ukrainians are no longer have these possibilities, because the Russians control physically the main roads that Ukrainians used to have. So which means that the news around the city of Liman is sightseeing, and there are just several roads that left for the Ukrainians for these purposes. Another important thing that in coming days the Russians will improve their equipment in this area. We're talking about different radars, we're talking about different communication equipment and so on, with the purpose to use this foothold for FPV drone purposes. And from these positions, from these forests, the Russians most likely will establish certain control over the territory between this, let's say, settlement and the city of Slaviansk itself. And from these positions, obviously, the Russians will have the possibilities to attack the Ukrainians basically from behind, from everything from behind to the north of Alexandrovka, and this line would be attacked by Russians from the area of the settlement of Bruskovka, which means that this can lead to unpredictable consequences, and it seems that the Russians are about to intensify their offensive operation through the Liman direction, which is most likely is going to be the most prioritized direction for the Russians, for several reasons. The first of them is that the Russians, if they finish the battle for the city of Liman, this will allow the Russians to release the group of forces west for other purposes. We know that there are still unresolved problems in the area of the city of Kupiansk. There is still the existence of the Barova foothold, this one. So when the Russians of the group of forces west finishes the battle for the settlement of Liman, and by the way, they have already begun advancing in the area of the city, this will allow the Russians to establish control over the territory along the river of Seversky Donetsk, and then to use the forces of the group of forces west to finish the battle for the Barova pocket first of all, and of course for the Kupiansk pocket as well, because these two pockets are the areas of responsibilities of the group of forces west, and the Russians are not able to do this because they prioritize the city of Liman as a main direction. So now this is a very important, and Russians most likely will invest all their efforts in this direction before moving further. As for the northern directions, during the previous day, we haven't received anything special. And that's it for today. The Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye-bye.